My wife's cousin Robert was designated by the mohel to hold Joshua's tiny limbs firmly while he wielded the ismel to cut the foreskin. Blood flowed. With his little finger, the mohel then flicked a single drop of soothing red wine into Joshua's mouth. It was all over in seconds. Afterwards, I spoke a few words to explain our baby boy's name. We have chosen a strong Hebrew name like Joshua because he is descended on his mother's side from a family of Holocaust survivors. We hope he too will become a survivor of life's adversities, and that like his warrior namesake, he will take life's journey strong in body and mind. But unlike the biblical Joshua, we hope he is never forced to become a warrior, and that when he someday visits Jerusalem, the city of his father's earliest memories, he will find all the peoples of that ancient place at peace. Joshua has yet to visit Jerusalem, and alas, the city is far from peaceful. This book, part memoir and part historical narrative, will explore why this is so. This is not a 9/11 book, but it explores the history behind the passions, the fears, the hatreds, and the anger that prompted 19 young Arab men to plow commercial airliners into the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and an empty field in Pennsylvania. Neither is it about the current crisis in Palestinian-Israeli relations. I have written this book in large part to understand why the Middle East of my childhood seems stuck in endless conflict. Only history can offer any insights into this question. My father was a career Foreign Service officer, a diplomat, and an Arabist who spent virtually all of his career in the Near East, as it was called in the U.S. State Department, from 1956 until 1975. So I spent most of my childhood growing up amongst the Israelis and the Arabs of Palestine, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. I went back for a year in 1970-71 to study at the American University of Beirut. I went back again in my 20s as a freelance reporter. I had many adventures. For instance, in September 1970, Palestinian Fedayeen hijacked a British airliner flying from Bombay to Beirut, on which my high school sweetheart was a passenger. She was held hostage on an abandoned desert airfield in northern Jordan for 4 days. I know the dangers and the seductions of the Middle East. It is part of my identity. I grew up amongst a people who routinely referred to the creation of the State of Israel as the Nakba, the disaster. And yet I fell in love with and married a Jewish American woman, the only daughter of 2 Holocaust survivors, both Jewish Austrians. Gradually, over many years of marriage, I came to understand what this meant. One can't live with a child of Holocaust survivors without absorbing some of the same sensibilities that her parents transmitted to her as a young girl. It is an unspoken dread, a sense of fragility, a surreal anticipation of unseen horrors. The children of survivors are inevitably saddled with an existential guilt. Their parents remind them every day how lucky they are, how privileged not to have lived in those dark years. And yet, however fortunate their life in America or Israel, these children of the Holocaust cannot help but wonder whether, as Henry James put it in his short story, The Beast in the Jungle, they are being kept for something rare and strange, possibly prodigious and terrible, that was sooner or later to happen. I can't count the number of occasions on which my beautiful wife has quietly, insistently intimated that there really is a beast lurking in the jungle, waiting to pounce and destroy her privileged existence in the diaspora. I am the goy who reassures her that it is not so, that the beast is a phantasm. But I know where the beast comes from. It comes from history. So the Holocaust, or to use the more accurately descriptive Hebrew term, the Shoah, well, it too has become a part of my own identity. The Nakba and the Shoah, the bookends of my life. In my 20s, I came to the conclusion that I did not wish to spend my entire life forlornly trying to rectify the injustices of the Nakba and the Shoah. So I refrained from writing about the Middle East and all its wars. It was an abdication. Instead, I wrote 3 biographies of leading figures in the American foreign policy establishment: John J. McCloy, McGeorge Bundy, and J. Robert Oppenheimer. The last of these, American Prometheus, The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer, was co-authored with Martin J. Sherwin. These books all explored how power worked in 20th century